All right. Hey, good afternoon, everybody. Um, Thank you for joining us. Sorry I had to make the last second change in plans. I got an email from Baldwin about 10 o'clock yesterday morning and letting me know that they were obviously closed and that they weren't cleaning the parking lots off and everything like that. Uh, so we had to adjust and try to do this all virtually. And I think we've got it all figured out. We've got me. I'm going to be presenting Rule 10, and then Mike Winehouse has got Rules 12 and 13 afterwards. Again, making the adjustment in weeks because of next week's a little bit shorter week with the 2 o'clock start. Again, to schedule changes at Baldwin. So anyway, we'll go ahead and jump in. Happy New Year, everybody. Glad you're joining us. Hopefully, everybody was safe from the storm, and we'll get to going. So, all right. So, Rule 10. Um, let's see here. There we go. So, Rule 10. Got a purpose statement. There's three sections: making a stroke, advice, and other help. Caddies. We're going to cover here is what it means to make a stroke at a ball, what it means to fairly strike the ball, something more than making a stroke, difference between a fairly struck ball and a not fairly struck ball, examples of and penalties for not fairly striking the ball, pushing, scraping, scooping, anchoring. I saw a good TikTok on this the other day. I wish I would have saved it about guy had some bad examples for, he said he was trying to make a putt and he was scooping in every single one of them. I wish I would have saved that. Should have sent that to John. He could have used it. Other strokes that breach the rules: standing across or on your line of play or extension behind, hitting a moving ball, advice and other types of help a player may and may not get and from whom, caddies and what they may and may not do for the player. Purpose of Rule 10, how to prepare for and make a stroke, including advice and other help the player may get from others, including caddies. The underlying principle is that golf is a game of skill and personal challenge. All right, 10.1, making a stroke. Got four subsections here. So right off the bat, we got the definition of a stroke: the forward movement of the club made to strike the ball. But a stroke has not been made if the player decides during this downswing not to strike the ball and avoids doing so by deliberately stopping the club head before it reaches the ball. Back up there, I missed got two check marks there. Player decides not to strike ball during downswing. Player avoids striking the ball. The picture there was a video at one time, but Tiger at the Players Championship years ago in Atlanta, where that was the first time we kind of saw him do that. It was pretty amazing that he somehow stopped before he struck the ball there. When the rules refer to playing a ball, it means the same as making a stroke. The player's score for a hole or a round is described as a number of strokes or strokes taken, which means both all strokes made and any penalty strokes. 10.1 covers how to make a stroke and several acts that are prohibited in doing so. A stroke is made by fairly striking at a ball with the head of a club. The fundamental challenge is to direct and control the movement of the entire club by freely swinging the club without anchoring it. So 10.1a, fairly striking the ball. In making a stroke, the player must fairly strike at the ball with any part of the club head, any part of the head of the club, such that there is only momentary contact between the club and the ball. video here with the head of the club. Well, I thought we had a video. Back up there. Supposed to be a video. I'm not sure why I played. So with the head of the club, they must not push, scrape, or scoop the ball. Not sure why it's not letting you play the media. Sorry. If the player's club accidentally hits the ball more than once, there's been only one stroke and there is no penalty. Anchoring club and making a stroke, the player must not anchor the club either directly or indirectly. Directly by holding the club against any part of the body or a gripping hand against any part of the body, except that the player may hold the club against a hand or forearm or a gripping hand against a hand or forearm. Indirectly is through use of an anchor point by holding a forearm against any part of the body. To use a gripping hand as a stable point around which the other hand may swing the club. The player's club, gripping hand, or forearm merely touches their body or clothing during the stroke without being held against the body. There's no breach of this rule. For the purposes of this rule, forearm means the part of the arm below the elbow joint and includes the wrist. It's one of our internal definitions. This goes on to talk about alternative rules in 25 for amputees, players who use assistive mobility devices. Get into later. Modification of this rule. Making stroke while standing across or on a line of play. The player must not make a stroke from a stance with a foot deliberately placed on each side of the line of play or an extension of that line behind the ball, with either foot deliberately touching the line of play or an extension of that line behind the ball. For this rule only, the line of play does not include a reasonable distance on either side. An exception, there's no penalty if stance is taken accidentally or to avoid another player's line of play. See this quite often. Player puts it up there, just got a little tap in to clean things up. Instead of going through the motions of marking all that, it's okay to stand on that line just to tap that ball in and avoid the other player's line of play. See, they've got the teeth in the ground, indicates their ball marker where they're going to play from. And again, see Rule 25 for players who use assistive mobility device in a modification of this rule. Playing a moving ball, player must not make a stroke at a moving ball. I don't know why the media is not playing, but that's a video of John Daly at the U.S. Open at Pinehurst years ago, I think back in '99, where he played a shot up to the green. It didn't get on the green, started rolling back, and as he's walking up, he took a whack at it as it was rolling back down towards him. A ball in play is moving when it is not at rest on a spot. If a ball that has come to rest is wobbling, sometimes referred to as oscillating, but stays on or returns to its original spot, it is treated as being at rest and is not a moving ball. We have 3 exceptions where there is no penalty. Exception 1, ball begins to move only after player begins backswing for stroke. Making a stroke and a moving ball in this situation is covered by Rule 9.1b, not by this rule. If you saw that, this one played, showing us that ball started to move after he started his backswing. The ball slightly moved forward. There you go. And he completed his stroke. Exception 2, ball falling off tee. Making a stroke and a ball falling off a tee is covered by 6.2b, Section 5, not by this rule. And ball moving in water. Third exception, when a ball is moving in temporary water or in water in a penalty area, the player may make a stroke at the moving ball without penalty. The player may take a relief under Rule 16.1 or 17 and may lift the moving ball. In either case, the player must not unreasonably delay play to allow the wind or water current to move the ball to a better spot. Penalty for breach of Rule 10.1, general penalty. And stroke play, penalty, a stroke made in breach of this rule counts, and the player gets 2 penalty strokes. Any questions here? 10.1. Oh. Okay, 10.2, advice and other help. Got 2 subsections here in 10.2. So the purpose here is a fundamental challenge for the players deciding the strategy and tactics for their play. So there are limits to advice and other help the player may get during a round. So the definition of advice, any verbal comment or action, such as showing what club was just used to make a stroke, that is intended to influence a player in choosing a club, making a stroke, or deciding how to play during a hole or round. But advice does not include public information, such as location of things on the course, like the hole, the putting green, the fairway, penalty areas, bunkers, or another player's ball, or the distance from one point to another. Wind direction, or the rules. So during a round, player must not give advice to anyone in the competition who is playing on the course, ask anyone for advice other than the player's caddy, or touch another player's equipment to learn information that would be advice if given by or asked of the other player, such as touching the other player's clubs or bags to see what club is being used. This does not apply before round. While play is stopped under 5.7a or between rounds in the competition. Penalty for 10.2a is general penalty. In both match play and stroke play, the penalty is applied in this way. The player asks for or gives advice when either player is playing a hole. Player gets the general penalty on the hole being played or just completed. Player asks for or gives advice when both players are between play of 2 holes. The player gets the general penalty on the next hole. And you can see rules 22, 3, and 4 in forms of play involving partners. Player may give advice to their partner or the partner's caddy and may ask the partner or partner's caddy for advice. And 2B, other help, getting help from a caddy with, you got 2 sections here. Sorry, 5 sections here. So 1, getting help from caddy with line of play or other directional information. When a player's caddy is helping the player with the line of play or other directional information, the caddy is subject to the following limitations. Caddy must not set an object down to provide such help, and the player cannot avoid penalty by removing the object before the stroke is made. So in this picture, they're showing here is that caddy has set a water bottle down on the other side of the hole for Mr. Palmer. They're trying to emulate there is that the water bottle is showing a level to see if how the ground slope and how much it slopes based on the level of the water. Now, if that bottle was already set there before before his ball was there, or that bottle was placed there by somebody else, then that would be a problem. While a stroke is being made, the caddy must not stand in a position for the player to play towards or do anything else to provide such help. Got a video here. Let's see if this works. Nope. I don't know why these videos aren't working. So this was a junior amateur championship. The caddy was showing that the player had hit it into another fairway actually, and that caddy was showing the line of play, what direction he should take on that mound, and he can do that until he's ready to hit. Then he's just got to get out of the way. Caddy must not stand in the restricted area when not allowed under 10.2b4. So the caddy can't stand behind the line of play here. Okay, number 2, getting help from any person other than the caddy with line of play or directional information. The player must not get help with the line of play or other directional information from any other person any person other than their caddy, except as follows. A person may provide help by giving public information in relation to an object, such as pointing out a tree that shows the center line for a blind fairway. Other than when the player's ball is on the putting green, the person may stand in position for the player to play towards. But a person must move away before the stroke is made. But this rule does not prohibit any person from standing close to the hole to attend the flagstick. No setting down the object to help with aiming, taking stance, or swinging. Player must not set an object down to help with aiming or to help in taking a stance for the stroke to be made, such as a club set down on the ground to show where the player should aim or position their feet. So intent is involved in why the object is set down. For this rule to apply, the object has to be set down with the intent to help with lining up the feet or body. The club is set down for any other reason, the rule does not apply. Set an object down means that the object is in contact with the ground and the player is not touching the object. If the player breaches this rule, they cannot avoid penalty by removing the object before the stroke is made. The rule also applies to taking an action for a similar purpose, such as the player putting a mark in sand or dew to help with their swing. So the picture they're showing the player, it's early in the morning, still dew on the ground. He's taking a little swipe with his club, give him some help in his direction, and thus probably helping him line up his stance, take a swing. Rule does not apply to a ball marker when used to mark the spot of a ball or to the ball when it is placed on the spot. But a ball marker that meets the definition of alignment device and equipment rules is covered under Rule 4.3. Covered that. Jim Gickham covered that. Rule 4. And again, we have modifications in Rule 25 for players that are blind, who are blind. Restricted area for caddy before a player makes a stroke. When a player begins taking a stance for the stroke, which means they have at least 1 foot in position for that stroke. So that player's starting to take a stance. He's got 1 foot in there. That caddy needs to get out of there. Cannot be there. And until the stroke is made, there are limitations relating to when and why a player's caddy may deliberately stand on or close to an extension of the line of play behind the ball, which is the restricted area as follows. Give me another internal definition. I think we shared that list of internal definitions that Dave Earls supplied to us. I shared that, I think, in an email before the break after one of our sessions last year. Aiming, the caddy must not stand in the restricted area to help the player with aiming. This help includes when the caddy moves away without saying anything, but by doing so is giving a signal to the player that they are correctly aimed at the intended target. But there's no penalty if the player backs away before making the stroke and the caddy moves away from the restricted area before the player again begins to take a stance for the stroke. So they're letting you kind of reset yourself here. Help and other than aiming, if the caddy is helping the player with something specific other than aiming, such as checking to see if the player's club will hit a nearby tree during the backswing, the caddy may stand in the restricted area, but only if the caddy moves away before the stroke is made and provided this positioning is not part of a regular routine. And there's no penalty if the caddy was inadvertently standing in the restricted area. So the picture is just depicting caddy's back there. He's got the flag stick out. He's holding it. Looks like he's on his phone, something, not really paying attention. No problem here. Standing in the restricted area. The rule does not prohibit the player from getting help by having a person other than the player's caddy stand in the restricted area to help track the flight of a ball. And again, you got some other forms of play, rules 22, 23, and 24 that we'll get into later. And then rule 25, modification for players who are blind. 5, physical help, eliminating distractions and protection from elements. Player must not make a stroke while getting physical help from their caddy or any other person, or with their caddy or any other person or object deliberately positioned to eliminate distractions, get protection from sunlight, rain, wind, or other elements. This rule does not prohibit the player from taking their own actions to protect against the elements while making a stroke, such as by wearing protective clothing or holding an umbrella over their head, or asking any other person who was not deliberately positioned by the player to remain in position or move out of the way, such as when a spectator is casting a shadow over the player's ball. Before the stroke is made, such help or protection is allowed, except as prohibited in rules 10.2b, 3, and 4. So the whole time prior to the stroke, caddy can hold the umbrella over the player as they're getting prepared. But as soon as they're ready to make the stroke, they just have to move out of the way. Penalty here is general penalty under 10.2. Any questions?
Yes, there's one. Back when you were talking about Rule 4.3, and there was a photo that popped up on the screen that showed a ball marker that had lines.
Yeah.
Is that specific ball marker legal or illegal? I seem to recall that there are some dimension requirements or restrictions, but I'm curious as to whether that specific device is considered illegal.
Yeah, I don't recall. I don't.
John, are you there?
Yeah. I think it's under 2 inches. I'm looking. It needs to be under 2.
And if it has alignment lines on it, that's okay. If it's rectangular instead of round, that's okay.
As long as the dimensions are under 2 inches.
Okay.
It can have alignment lines on it. And if it doesn't have alignment lines, it can be any size.
Thank you.
I'll chime in at the next break.
All right, thanks. Okay, 10.3, caddies. So we got a purpose statement, two sections here. Purpose here, the player may have a caddy to carry the player's clubs and give advice and other help during the round, but there are limits to what the caddy is allowed to do. Caddy is responsible for the caddy's actions during the round and will get a penalty if the caddy breaches the rules. Definition here of a caddy, someone who helps a player during a round, including in these ways: carrying, transporting, or handling clubs, person who carries transports, such as by cart or trolley, or handles a player's clubs during play as the player's caddy, even if not named as a caddy by the player, except when done to move the player's clubs, bag, or cart out of the way, or as a courtesy, such as getting a club the player left behind. Giving advice, a player's caddy is the only person other than a partner or partner's caddy. Player may ask for advice. A caddy may also help the player in other ways allowed by the rules. Player is allowed only one caddy at a time. Player may have a caddy to carry, transport, and handle their clubs, give advice, help them in other ways allowed during a round. But there are some limitations. Player must not have more than one caddy at any one time. Player may change caddies during a round, but must not do so temporarily for the sole purpose of getting advice from the new caddy. Whether or not the player has a caddy or any other person who walks or rides along with the player or who carries other things for the player, such as a rain suit, umbrella, for food or drink, is not the player's caddy, unless they are named as such by the player, or also carry, transport, or handle the player's clubs. See that a lot in junior golf. At least I have. Parents are maybe carrying a cooler or something like that for the kids, or if we're letting parents have carts, they got coolers in the carts with them for the kids. Two or more players may share a caddy. When there's a rules issue involving a specific action of a shared caddy and it needs to be decided which player the action was taken for, if the caddy's action was taken at the specific direction of one of the players sharing the caddy, the action was taken for that player. If none of those players specifically directed that action, the action is treated as taken for the player sharing the caddy whose ball was involved. If none of the players sharing the caddy specifically directed the caddy's action and none of those players' balls were involved, all players sharing the caddy get the penalty. Just highlighting a committee procedure, section 8, local rule H1. The committee may adopt a local rule prohibiting or requiring the use of caddies or restricting a player's choice of caddy. Example here in the picture is in the U.S. Junior, Amateur, and Girls Junior Championships. Parents, step-parents, or guardians cannot be used as caddies, cannot be used. And then again, Rule 25, players with disabilities may also get help from an aide. And we'll see there that they could have an aide and a caddy. Penalty here, general penalty for each hole during which they are helped by more than one caddy at any one time. If the breach happens or continues between two holes, the player gets a general penalty for the next hole. Here are examples of what a caddy is allowed to do. And we'll get into the not allowed. So they're always allowed. A caddy action's always allowed. A caddy may always take these actions when allowed under the rules. Carry, transport, and handle the player's clubs and other equipment, including driving a cart or pulling a trolley. Back to the caddy restrictions. Another example in the senior amateur championships, in the U.S. senior amateur championships, the USGA has what they call a one-seat policy. So a player may have a caddy, but only one of either the player or the caddy can only be in the cart, driving or riding. If the caddy or the player decides the caddy is just to drive the cart, the player has to walk the entire time, or vice versa. The player may take the cart, but then the caddy has to walk. Always allowed to search for the player's ball. Give information, advice, and other help before the stroke is made. And smooth bunkers or take other actions to care for the course. Remove sand and loose soil and repair damage on the putting green. Remove or attend the flag stick. Lift the player's ball once it is reasonable to conclude, such as from an action or statement that the player will take relief under a rule. And we have another, which I don't know why these videos aren't working. If I remember right, the video here, the official, Jeff Kuhn from Texas, he's a player's probably taking relief from this cart path. And eventually, I think after they get the area, I think the caddy ends up picking up that ball. You can mark the spot of the player's ball and lift and replace the ball on the putting green. Clean the player's ball. Remove loose impediments and movable obstructions. And now we have actions allowed only with the player's authorization. So before, number one was they can do that at any time on their own. So caddy may take these actions only when the rules allow the player to take them. And only with the player's authorization, which must be given specifically each time rather than given generally for a round. So what they're saying is, get into an example here, restore conditions that were worsened after the player's ball came to rest. When the player's ball is anywhere except on the putting green, lift the player's ball under a rule requiring it to be replaced. So then get in number 3, action is not allowed. Caddy is not allowed to take these actions for the player. Stroke play, they cannot concede the next stroke, a hole, or the match to the opponent, or agree with the opponent on the match score. They're not allowed to replace the ball unless the caddy had lifted or moved the ball. Drop, replace the ball, taking relief. Decide to take relief under a rule, such as treating a ball as unplayable under Rule 19, or taking relief from an abnormal course condition or penalty area under Rule 16.1 or 17. The caddy may advise the player to do so, but the player must decide. Players responsible for the caddy's actions in the breach of the rules. Players responsible for the caddy's actions both during a round and while play is stopped under Rule 5.7a, but not before or after a round. If the caddy's action breaches a rule, the player gets the penalty under that rule. Or would breach a rule if the action was taken by the player. Player gets a penalty. Some examples here: anything a player is not allowed to do, like improve conditions affecting the stroke, deliberately stop or deflect a ball, cause player's ball in play to move, make a practice stroke during a hole. When application of a rule depends on whether the player is aware of certain facts, the player's knowledge is treated as including whatever is known by their caddy. Any question? 10.3, or any questions on 10? John, do you find anything on that ball marker?
Sure did. On page 71 of the equipment rules, it's under devices and other equipment, part 6. Number 7 is definition of alignment device and treatment of ball markers. And if it has lines on it, alignment type lines, the maximum dimension in any direction is 2 inches, and has to be less than 1 inch tall.
Yeah.
But if you had a manhole cover, I think you could still use that as a ball marker if it didn't have any lines on it.
All right, any other questions? No? All right, take a couple minutes break here. And Mike's gonna get set up for Rule 12. So bear with us. All yours, Mike.
Okay, I'm trying to bring this up. One second here. Okay. Can you hear me, Curt?
Yep.
Okay. Let me know when we're back from our break.
Yeah, I think we can go whenever you want to hit that, the full screen, the slideshow button there. That we went over earlier. Let's make sure it comes up.
Okay, I have it up. Do you not see it?
Yeah, but you want to hit that button down by the slide at the bottom. Remember that shows the slideshow? Like we see the whole, there you go.
Okay, let me get,
Yep.
hold on.
There you go. Now you're ready.
Okay, now you can see it.
Well, no, it went away. Can you hit it again?
Oh, goodness me. Um, okay, now I have the full screen.
Yep.
Need to get it back to,
Yeah, you should just be able to hit enter. You can hit enter on your keyboard, it'll go forward.
oh, shoot. I'm trying to get it where I can, oh, never mind. Let me see something. Okay, we're good.
Now, if you're ready to go, I say, go ahead and go.
Okay, everyone, let's start with rule 2. Well, we did rule 10. Let's go to rule 12. And we have a purpose statement. When ball is in bunker, playing ball in bunker, specific rules for relief for ball in a bunker. The presentation covers when a ball is in a bunker, things in a bunker that can be moved without penalty, restrictions on your actions when your ball is in a bunker, exception to those restrictions, other relief rules that can apply when your ball is in a bunker. Rule 12 is specific rule for bunkers, which are specially prepared areas intended to test the player's ability to play a ball from the sand. To make sure the player confronts this challenge, there are some restrictions on touching the sand before the stroke is made and on where relief may be taken for a ball in a bunker. Bunker is a specially prepared area of sand. This is a definition, which is often a hollow from which turf or soil was removed. I always wondered if this was a real picture of a bunker or not. Don't know. These are not part of a bunker. A lip, wall, or face at the edge of a prepared area and consisting of soil, an earthen bunker lip, not part of the bunker, grass, stacked turf, or artificial materials are not part of the bunker. Soil inside the edge of a prepared area is not part of a bunker. Any growing or attached natural object inside the edge of a prepared area, such as grass, bushes, or trees. Sand that has spilled over or is outside the edge of a prepared area. It's not part of the bunker. All other areas of sand on the course that are not inside the edge of a prepared area, such as deserts and other natural sand areas, are areas sometimes referred to as waste areas. Bunkers are one of the 5 defined areas of the course, which you can see circled in rule in 2 and 3 on the picture. A committee may define a prepared area of sand as part of the general area. which means it's not a bunker, such as ground under repair, may define a non-prepared area of sand as a bunker. When a bunker is being repaired and the committee defines the entire bunker as ground under repair, it is treated as part of the general area, which means it is not a bunker. And you can see from this picture, this would most definitely be marked ground under repair. Internal definition, sand. The word sand is used in this definition, and Rule 12 includes any material similar to sand that is used as a bunker material, such as crushed shells, as well as any soil that is mixed in with the sand. A ball is in a bunker when any part of the ball touches sand on the ground inside the edge of the bunker, which you can see this ball is most definitely in the bunker with the red circle and the check mark. Is inside the edge of the bunker and rests on ground where sand normally would be, such as where sand was blown or washed away by wind or water. In or on a loose impediment, movable obstruction, abnormal course condition, or integral object that touches sand in the bunker or is on ground where sand normally would be. So you can see the ball with the X is not lying on sand, so that would be considered part of the general area. If a ball lies on soil or grass or other growing or attached natural objects inside the edge of the bunker without touching any sand, the ball is not in the bunker. And you can see the picture of the ball to the right is not in the bunker, it's in a little bush. If part of the ball is both in a bunker and in another area of the course, you'll see Rule 2.2C, and that's determining the area of the course where the ball lies. If part of the ball is in two specific areas of the course, it is treated as lying in the specific area that comes first in this order: penalty area, bunker, putting green. And again, this is a review of Rule 2. This rule applies both during a round and while play is stopped under Rule 5.7a. Before playing a ball in a bunker, a player may remove loose impediments under 15.1 and movable obstructions under 15.2. This includes any reasonable touching or movement of the sand in the bunker that happens while doing so. So there's no breach if this includes any reasonable touching or movement of the sand in the bunker that happens while doing so. Clarification 12.2a/1. Improvement resulting from removing loose impediment or movable obstruction from a bunker. When removing a loose impediment or movable obstruction from a bunker, sand is often moved as a result of removing the object. There is no penalty if this improves conditions affecting the stroke. If the actions taken to remove the loose impediment or movable obstructions were reasonable under Rule 18.1b2. Restrictions on touching sand in a bunker. When touching sand results in a penalty, when touching sand does not result in a penalty, and no restrictions after a ball is played out of a bunker. When touching sand results in a penalty, before making a stroke at a ball in a bunker, a player must not deliberately touch sand in the bunker with hand, club, rake, or other object to test the condition of the sand to learn information for the next stroke. So this definitely is a breach. Touch sand in a bunker with the club in the area right in front or right behind the ball, except as allowed under Rule 7.1a in fairly searching for a ball, or under Rule 12.2a in removing a loose impediment or movable obstruction. In making a practice swing. But you can go to an adjacent bunker and take practice swings, and you just have to be careful not to unreasonably delay play in doing so. In making the backswing for a stroke. When touching sand results in a penalty, we'll see 25.2F when we get to that rule. And again, we'll get to this in 25.2F. And again, this is more information about Rule 25. When touching sand does not result in a penalty, except as covered by 12.2b1, this rule does not prohibit the player from touching sand in the bunker in any other way. Digging in with feet to take a stance for a practice swing or the stroke, you do have to be careful. Say you go into a bunker not knowing what your stroke is going to be, and you make footprints and you leave to go grab a club. You cannot smooth those footprints. You have to play with those footprints still there. And you can't excessively dig your feet in. As an example, a player must not excessively dig their feet in so they are touching the tarp underneath the sand, which is an immovable obstruction, which free relief is granted. That would be excessive, and you can't do that. Smoothing the bunker to care for the course. Placing clubs, equipment, or other objects in the bunker, whether by throwing or setting them down. Measuring, marking, lifting, replacing, or taking other actions under a rule. Leaning on a club to rest, stay balanced, or prevent from falling, all does not result in a penalty. Striking the sand in frustration or anger is permitted without penalty. Clarification 12.2b/2, whether a player may probe in bunker. Clarification 8.1a/7 confirms that a player may probe anywhere on the course, including a bunker, without penalty, to determine if tree roots, rocks, or obstructions might interfere with their stroke. as long as the player does not improve the conditions affecting the stroke. However, if the purpose of the probing is to test the condition of the sand, the player is in breach of Rule 12.2b1. But the player gets the general penalty if their actions is touching the sand, improve the conditions affecting the stroke in breach of 8.1a, and that includes the lie of the player's ball at rest, the area of the player's intended stance, the area of the player's intended swing, the player's line of play, and the relief area where the player will drop or place a ball. See also Rules 8.2 and 8.3 for limitations on improving or worsening other physical conditions to affect play. No restrictions after ball is played out of a bunker. After a ball is played, ball in a bunker is played, and it is outside the bunker, or a player has taken relief outside the bunker, or intends to take relief outside the bunker, the player may touch sand in the bunker without penalty under Rule 12.2b1. Smooth sand in the bunker to care for the course without penalty under Rule 8.1a. Say your ball is in the front of the bunker and you enter the bunker from the backside, you can go ahead and rake up until your ball, as long as you don't affect the conditions affecting the stroke. No restrictions after balls played out of the bunker, and this is true even if the ball comes to rest outside the bunker, and the player is required or allowed by the rules to take stroke and distance relief by dropping a ball in the bunker, or the sand in the bunker is on the player's line of play for the next stroke from outside the bunker. But if the ball played from the bunker comes back into the bunker, the player takes relief by dropping a ball in the bunker, or the player decides not to take relief outside the bunker. The restrictions of Rules 12.2b1 and 8.1a again apply to that ball in play in the bunker. Penalty for breach of 12.2 is the general penalty. When a ball is in a bunker, specific relief rules may apply in these situations. Interference by an abnormal course condition, interference by a dangerous animal condition, Rule 16.2, and unplayable ball, which is in Rule 19.3. The purpose statement: when a ball's in a bunker, playing ball in a bunker, specific rules for relief for ball in the bunker. Are there any questions? That is
Mac,
Rule
we don't see any questions here on this end.
Okay, thank you. I didn't hear any, so I anticipated that. So that's Rule 12. Should we take a 5-minute break? Or should we move on to Rule 13? Let me see about getting Rule 13 up here.
Mike, why don't you give the audience a little bit of a break?
Okay.
That's been two rules. Give them a break between two and the last one.
Okay, that sounds good.
7 minutes, something, what you announce a time when they should be back. It's 2 o'clock now.
Okay.
Yeah, guys, I'm muted. I'm on another phone call. That's why I'm muted. So go ahead and take a little break if you need to or whatever.
Want to say 2:06, Mike?
That sounds good to me.
Don't forget to hit your slideshow button, Mike.
Correct.
There you go.
I got one more minute and then we'll begin. Okay, it's 2:07 and I hope everyone is back in their comfortable seats. And we'll begin with Rule 13. Rule 13, purpose statement. There's a purpose statement for 13.1. 13.1, there's actions allowed or required on putting greens, a purpose statement for the flag stick, and then we'll go on to ball overhanging the hole. The presentation covers when a ball is on the putting green, special privileges players get on the putting green they don't get elsewhere. Acts prohibited on the putting green. What is required if a ball or ball marker gets moved? The required relief procedure if a ball is on a wrong green. Players' options for dealing with the flag stick. The special rules that apply when a ball overhangs the lip of the hole. Putting greens. They are specially prepared for playing the ball along the ground, and there is a flag stick for the hole on each putting green, so certain different rules apply than for other areas of the course. There's probably more rules concerning greens than any other specific areas for sure. The area on the hole the player is playing that is specially prepared for putting, or the committee has defined as the putting green, such when a temporary green is used. The putting green for a hole contains the hole into which the player tries to play a ball. And the putting green is one of the 5 defined areas of the course, which is circled with the number 4. The putting greens for all other holes, which the player is not playing at the time, are wrong greens and part of the general area. And you can see by the diagram in yellow, the putting green of the hole being played. The rest are wrong greens and as we said, are in the general area. The edge of a putting green is defined by where it can be seen that the specially prepared area starts, such as where the grass has been distinctly cut to show the edge, unless the committee defines the edge in a different way, such as by using lines or dots, which we'll see soon with double greens, which I think is the next slide. If a double green is used for 2 different holes, the entire prepared area containing both holes is treated as the putting green when playing each hole. In other words, if it's not divided, the whole putting green, the two putting greens is one green and is in play for for the hole being played. But the committee may define an edge that divides the double green into two different putting greens, so that when a player is playing one of the holes, the part of the double green on the side of the edge that is used for the other hole is a wrong green, and relief must be taken. And again, this is showing wrong greens, and any green on the course other than the putting green of the hole the player is playing are wrong greens. Wrong greens include the putting greens for all other holes that the player is not playing at that time. And those wrong greens are, again, which we are repeating, is in the general area. The normal putting green for a hole where a temporary green is being used. All practice greens for putting, chipping, or pitching, unless the committee excludes them by local rule. Wrong greens are part of the general area. It's obviously important since it's repeated so many times. The finishing point on the hole, on the putting green for the hole being played, and the hole is a definition. The hole must be 4¼ inches in diameter and at least 4 inches deep. If a lining is used, its outer diameter must not exceed 4¼ inches. The lining must be sunk at least 1 inch below the putting green surface, unless the nature of the soil requires that it be closer to the surface. We had a tournament last year, I believe it was at Annbriar, where right when play started, we noticed that the liner was not sunk 1 inch below the surface, and we were afraid that when a player reached that green and putted, that the liner would deflect the ball and make it stay out of the hole. So we quickly got to the greenskeeper staff, and they came out and they adjusted all the liners, which was on quite a few holes, and made them 1 inch deep. So we did not end up having a problem. The word hole, when not used as a definition in italics, is used throughout the rules to mean the part of the course associated with a particular teeing area, putting green, and hole. Play of a hole begins from the teeing area and ends when the ball is holed on the putting green, or when the rules otherwise say the hole is completed, such as when a ball is conceded in match play. Purpose statement for actions allowed on or required on putting greens. When a ball is on a putting green, marking, lifting, and cleaning ball on putting green, improvements allowed on putting green, when ball or ball marker moves on putting green, no deliberate testing of greens, and relief must be taken from wrong green. So this is the purpose statement. The rule allows the player to do things on the putting green that are normally not allowed off the putting green. And you can see in the picture, can't see the mark, but I'm assuming he marked before lifting the ball, which can be done on the putting green and nowhere else unless a rule applies. Such as being allowed to mark, lift, clean, and replace a ball, and to repair damage and remove sand and loose soil on the putting green. There's no penalty for accidentally causing a ball or ball marker to move on the putting green. All you have to do is replace it. Or if you don't know the spot, estimate where the spot is. A ball is on the putting green when any part of the ball touches the putting green. And you can see in the picture that part of the ball is touching the fringe and part is touching the putting green, so it's on the putting green. Lies on or in anything, such as a loose impediment or an obstruction, and is inside the edge of the putting green. So the ball is on the putting green in this situation where it lies on the leaf. If part of the ball is both on the putting green and in another area of the course, we're back to Rule 2.2c. If part of the ball is both in the general area and one of the 4 specific areas of the course, it is treated as lying in that specific area of the course. A ball on the putting green may be lifted and cleaned, and you can see Rule 14.1. The spot of the ball must be marked before it is lifted, see Rule 14.1, and the ball must be replaced on its original spot. If the ball is lifted without marking it, then we have a Rule 9.4b problem. During a round, and while play is stopped under Rule 5.7a, a player may take these 2 actions on the putting green: removal of sand and loose soil, repair of damage. And that can be done whether your ball is on the putting green or not. No matter whether the ball is on or off the putting green, which I just mentioned, this procedure can be done without penalty. Sand and loose soil on the putting green may be removed without penalty. And you can see the player removing sand or loose soil, and he is on the putting green. Repair of damage. A player may repair damage on the putting green without penalty by taking reasonable actions to restore the putting green as nearly as possible to its original condition. And I haven't really seen anyone taking unreasonable delay in fixing greens and repairing greens, and haven't really seen anyone take excessive action in doing so. Let's see if this will play. No, this media won't play. But you can see those are probably our spike marks to the right of the ball, which can be repaired. but it can be only repaired by using the player's or caddy's hand, foot, other part of the body, or a normal ball mark repair tool. A tee, a club, or a similar item of normal equipment. They all can be used to repair damage on the putting green. Without unreasonably delaying play, which I mentioned, that's something to look out for as you're officiating, that someone isn't taking too much time in fixing greens. But if the player improves the putting green by taking actions that exceed what is reasonable to restore the putting green to its original condition, such as by creating a pathway to the hole or by using an object that is not allowed, the player gets the general penalty for breach 8.1a. Damage on the putting green means any damage caused by any person, including the player, or outside influence, which this is a pretty big animal and pretty big hoof prints, I'm sure. And there's an internal definition for damage on the putting green that you might take a look at. Repair of damage such as ball marks, shoe damage, and shoe scrapes or indentations caused by equipment or a flag stick. This is all damage. Such as old hole plugs, turf plugs, seams of cut turf. It's all damaged and can be repaired. Scrapes or indentations from maintenance tools or vehicles. They can be repaired. Animal tracks or hoof indentations. Embedded objects such as a stone, acorn, hail, or tee, and indentations caused by them. I think we've all run into situations, especially with acorns embedded in the green, and players asking whether or not they're able to remove those acorns or not, which, yes, you can. But damage on the putting green does not include any damage or conditions that result from normal practices for maintaining the overall condition of the putting green, such as aeration holes and grooves from vertical mowing. So you can't you can't repair the aeration holes or the grooves from vertical mowing. Irrigation or rain or other natural forces does not include damage. Natural surface imperfections such as weeds or areas of bare, disease, or uneven growth. This is just part of the putting green. Natural surface imperfections such as weeds or areas bare, diseased, or uneven growth. Natural wear of the hole. You can see this hole there's some little grass growing to the inner part of the hole. This is just natural wear of the hole, and not does not include damage. There are two specific rules for a ball or ball marker that moves on the putting green. No penalty for accidentally causing ball to move. When to replace a ball moved by natural forces. There's no penalty for accidentally causing a ball to move. There is no penalty if the player or opponent or another player in stroke play accidentally moves the player's ball or ball marker on the putting green. The ball or ball marker just has to be replaced. Now my media player isn't playing, so this is just showing the ball in different areas of the putting green and whether the ball is accidentally moved. I believe that's what this is showing in the slide. When ball or ball marker moves on a putting green, no penalty for accidentally causing the ball to move. The player must replace the ball on its original spot, or which, if not known, must be estimated. See Rule 14.2. If you don't replace it on the spot, you have problems, which we'll get into. Place a ball marker to mark the original spot. And John covered the dimensions of a ball marker and lines on it, so we already discussed that. There's an exception. Ball must be played as it lies when ball begins to move during backswing or stroke and stroke is made. It just counts as a stroke, and this is in Rule 9.1b. You can see the video of the ball moving a little bit. Okay. If the player or opponent deliberately lifts the player's ball or ball marker on the putting green, Rule 9.4 or 9.5 to find out if there is a penalty. That would be deliberately or accidental. If natural forces causes a player's ball on the putting green to move, where the player must play from next depends on whether the ball had already been lifted and replaced on the putting green, but ball already lifted and replaced, ball not already lifted and replaced. Ball already lifted and replaced. The ball must be replaced on the spot it moved from, which, if not known, must be estimated in Rule 14.2, even though it was moved by natural forces and not by the player, the opponent, or outside influence. So we've seen on windy days situations where a ball is marked and replaced, and we've seen it move from natural forces. And as long as the ball was marked, you just replace the ball, no penalty. And this is Tiger, and it looks like he's having a problem with the ball staying in place, being moved by natural forces. clarification, 13(1D)2/1, ball must be replaced if it moves after placing a ball to take relief. A player's ball is on the putting green and they have interference from an abnormal course condition. The player decides to take free relief under Rule 16.1D. If the nearest point of complete relief is on the putting green, once the ball is placed at this point, it is treated as if it has been lifted and replaced under the Rule 13.1D2. For example, a player's ball is in temporary water on the putting green. They decide to take relief and place a ball on the spot of the nearest point of complete relief. While the player is preparing to make the stroke, natural forces cause the ball to move. The player must replace the ball on the spot of the nearest point of complete relief. When the nearest point of complete relief is in the general area, and the ball moves due to natural forces after being placed at this point, it must be played from its new spot unless 9.3 exception 2 applies, which is if the ball is in the general area and it's moved by natural forces and comes to rest in the general area, you play the ball as it now lies. If the ball rolls from natural forces into a different area of the course, then you replace the ball on that spot that it moved from. Ball not already lifted and replaced. The ball must be played from its new spot. Rule 9.3. When ball or ball marker moves on the putting green, penalty for playing from a wrong place in breach of 13.1D, and the general penalty under Rule 14.7A. No deliberate testing of greens during a round and while play is stopped under 5.7A. A player must not deliberately take either of these actions to test the putting green or a wrong green by rubbing the surface or rolling a ball. So you can't do that. Unless the exception, testing greens when between two holes. Between two holes, a player may rub the surface of or roll a ball on the putting green of the hole just completed and on any practice green. See Rule 5.5b. That's the only places that you can do it by this exception. No deliberate testing of greens. Penalty for testing the putting green or wrong green in breach of 13.1E is the general penalty. The committee procedures, Section 8, Model Local Rule I-2. The committee may adopt a local rule prohibiting a player from rolling a ball on the putting green of the hole just completed. And that ideally is to maintain pace of play. (13.1F), relief must be taken from wrong green. Meaning of interference by wrong green, relief must be taken. And in this diagram, you can see all the wrong greens with the red arrows, and then the yellow one is the putting green of the hole being played. Meaning of interference by wrong green. Interference under this rule exists when any part of the player's ball touches a wrong green. Lies on or in anything such as a loose impediment or an obstruction and is inside the edge of the wrong green. A wrong green physically interferes with the player's area of intended stance or area of intended swing. So that's how you determine whether you take free relief is if either of these happen, the intended stance or intended swing interferes with the player's wrong playing on the wrong green. Relief. A wrong green physically interferes with the player's area of intended stance or area of intended swing. A player must not play the ball as it lies. And you can see in the diagram the relief area from the nearest point of complete relief. Instead, the player must take free relief by dropping the original ball or another ball in this relief area. The reference point, the nearest point of complete relief in the same area of the course where the original ball came to rest. So it must be in the same area of the course. And it's highlighting in the same area of the course, so we know that's important. Size of relief area measured from reference point is 1 club length. But with these limits, must be in the same area of the course as the reference point, must not be nearer the hole than the reference point, and there must be complete relief from all interference by the wrong green, as pictured in this diagram. No relief when clearly unreasonable. There is no relief under Rule 13(1)(f) if interference exists only because a player chooses a club, type of stance, type of swing, or direction of play that is clearly unreasonable under the circumstances. I haven't run across this. I can't picture a circumstance where a player tried to do that, but I guess it's possible since I get free relief anyway. Committee Procedures, Section 8, Model Local Rule D-3. The committee may adopt a local rule denying relief from a wrong green that only interferes with the area of intended stance. Not stroke, just the area of intended stance. Relief must be taken from a wrong green. Penalty for playing from a wrong place in breach of 13.1F is the general penalty under Rule 14.7A. Are there any questions with 13.1 before we get to 13.2? Anyone have any questions? I don't hear any.
This is Alvin. One just came in.
Okay.
I'm reading it. Why the nearest point of complete relief in the same area of the course where the original ball came to rest?
Okay. He's asking, why does it have to be in that same area of the course? Why can't it be in a specific area other than the general area?
I believe so. Why does it have to be where the original ball came to rest, the nearest point of complete relief?
Well, the wrong green is in the general area, so um, I don't have a real good answer unless Alvin or John or Curt, it's just just the rule. I don't know the specific reason why.
Um, this is John. It is the rule the way it's written. You can picture, usually relief from a wrong green is going to be in the general area. However, you could have your stance on the wrong green and your ball could lie in a penalty area that's right on the edge of the green. Can you imagine that? Stance on the wrong green, ball in the penalty area. And you're taking relief from the wrong green and you've got to take it in the area where the ball lies.
That's
Okay.
correct.
Okay, I guess you could have a bunker close to a shallow bunker next to a putting green, have a similar situation.
Yeah, those are examples. I got that.
Alternatively, you could have your ball on the edge of the wrong green, and your stance could be in a penalty area or a bunker. Then you'd have to take relief because the ball's lying on the wrong green general area. You'd have to take relief in the general area.
Mm-hmm. I think that answers the question. Any other questions come in?
None here.
Okay. We'll move on. The flag stick. Lots of rules pertaining to flag stick. Purpose statement, introduction, definition of flag stick, leaving flag stick in hole, removing flag stick from hole, ball resting against the flag stick in the hole. This rule covers the player's choices for dealing with the flag stick. The player may leave the flag stick in the hole or have it removed, which includes having someone attend the flag stick and remove it after the ball is played. But the player must decide before making a stroke. That's the key. They must decide before making a stroke. There's normally no penalty if a ball in motion hits the flag stick. We'll go over a couple situations where there is a penalty, but normally there's no penalty if a ball in motion hits the flag stick. This rule applies to a ball played from anywhere on the course, whether on or off the putting green. A flag stick by definition is a movable pole provided by the committee that is placed in the hole to show the players where the hole is. The flag stick includes the flag and any other material or objects attached to the pole. When an artificial or natural object such as a club or a stick is being used to show the position of the hole, that object is treated as if it is the flag stick for the purpose of applying the rules. As you can see in this little picture, He's using a putter as the flag stick, and that's just fine. The requirements for a flag stick are stated in the equipment rules. So that's something, if you're interested in learning more about the flag stick, go to equipment rules for those answers. Okay, leaving flag stick in the hole, removing flag stick from hole, and ball resting against flag stick. And you can see in these pictures, those three things are happening. When you leave a flag stick in the hole, the player may leave the flag stick in the hole. There's no penalty if the ball hits the flag stick left in the hole. Limitation on player moving or removing flag stick in hole while ball is in motion. Limitation on other players moving or removing flag stick when player has decided to leave it in the hole. The player may make a stroke with the flag stick left in the hole so that it is possible for the ball in motion to hit the flag stick. You see it most definitely on longer putts. The player must decide this before making the stroke by either leaving the flag stick where it is in the hole. Moving it so that it is centered in the hole and leaving it there. So if you reach the green and the flag stick is not centered in the hole, you can either leave it as it is or center the flag stick. Having a removed flag stick put back in the hole, the player may leave the flag stick in the hole. In either case, the player must not try to gain an advantage by deliberately moving the flag stick to a position other than centered in the hole. Meaning, the flag stick is centered in the hole, and you go and you try to put it at an angle that would be beneficial for your putt. That's something that you can't do. And if you do it, you receive the general penalty, but only if the ball in motion hits the flag stick. If you miss the flag stick, it doesn't hit it, then there's no penalty at all. So that's an important key of when you're penalized for hitting a flag stick or not. There's no penalty if the ball hits the flag stick left in the hole if the player makes a stroke with the flag stick left in the hole and the ball in motion then hits the flag stick. There is no penalty and the ball must be played as it lies. Except is provided in 13.2A1. Limitation on player moving or removing flag stick in hole while ball is in motion. After making a stroke with the flag stick left in the hole, the player and the caddy must not deliberately move or remove the flag stick to affect where the player's ball in motion might come to rest, such as to avoid having the ball hit the flag stick. And you can see that's what this player is doing to the right. If this is done, the player gets the general penalty. So in the example before, when not centering the flag stick, it's a penalty only if the ball hits the flag stick. Otherwise, it's not a penalty. In this case, you receive the general penalty just from the action of moving or removing the flag stick to affect where the ball might go. So it's a general penalty that you can't avoid regardless if the ball hits the flag stick or not. But there is no penalty if the player has a flag stick in the hole, moved or removed for any other reason, such as when they reasonably believe that the ball in motion will not hit the flag stick before coming to rest. So that's a reason for there not to be a penalty. And it's a reasonable belief. Limitation on other players moving or removing flag stick when player has decided to leave it in the hole. When the player has left the flag stick in the hole and has not authorized anyone to attend the flag stick, and you can see Rule 13.2b1. And this is for other players. Another player must not deliberately move or remove the flag stick to affect where the player's ball in motion might come to rest. There's the other player. And you can see he just did that. That other player gets the general penalty. So if another player or their caddy does so before or during the stroke, and the player makes the stroke without being aware of this, that other player gets the general penalty. And if does so while the player's ball in motion after the stroke, that other player gets the general penalty. But there's no penalty if the other player or his or her caddy moves or removes the flag stick for any other reason, such as when they reasonably believe that the player's ball in motion will not hit the flag stick before coming to rest. And are not aware that the player is about to play or that the player's ball is in motion. Leaving flag stick in the hole concerning Rule 22 foursomes and 23 and 4 ball we'll get to when we get to those two rules. Player may have flag stick removed from hole. Player's right to have the flag stick removed so the ball will not hit it. The two ways this can be done: take the flag stick out of the hole before your stroke, or authorize someone to attend the flag stick. Here's some internal definitions: removed, attend, and authorize. What to do if ball hits flag stick or person attending the flag stick? Well, it depends if it's accidentally or deliberately. And there's an internal definition for deliberately, deflected, or stopped. The player may make a stroke with the flag stick removed from the hole so that their ball in motion will not hit the flag stick in the hole. The player must decide this before making the stroke. Having the flag stick removed from the hole before playing the ball. Authorizing someone to attend the flag stick, and this is internal definition removed. Which means to first hold the flag stick in, above, or next to the hole, which these arrows are showing that that exactly is what is happening. First, hold the flag stick before the stroke to show the player where the hole is. Then remove the flag stick during the stroke or after the stroke is made. The player is treated as having authorized, internal definition, the flag stick to be attended. The player is treated as having authorized the flag stick to be attended if the player's caddy is holding the flag stick in, above, or next to the hole, even if the player is not aware the caddy is doing so. The player's caddy is standing right next to the hole when the stroke is made, even if the player is not aware the caddy is doing so. It's treated as authorizing the caddy to attend the flag stick. The player asks any other person to attend the flag stick, and that person does so. That person has been authorized to attend the flag stick. The player sees any other person holding the flag stick in, above, or next to the hole, standing right next to the hole, and that player makes a stroke, and the player makes a stroke without asking that person to move away to leave the flag stick in the hole, that person is authorized to attend the flag stick. Player may have flag stick removed from the hole. That's the summary. And here are pictures showing different ways the flag stick can be removed. What to do if ball hits flag stick or person attending the flag stick. If the player's ball in motion hits a flag stick that the player had decided to have removed under 13.2b1, what happens depends on whether this was accidental or deliberate. Hits the person who is attending the flag stick or anything the person is holding. What happens depends on whether this was accidental or deliberate. If the player's ball in motion accidentally hits the flag stick or the person who removed or attending it, there is no penalty and the ball must be played as it lies. Ball deliberately deflected or stopped by person attending flag stick is if the person who is attending the flag stick deliberately deflects or stops the player's ball motion. Rule 11.2c applies. Where ball is played from, the player must not play the ball as it lies and instead must take relief under Rule 11.2c, which means it's played from the putting green. the ball must be replaced if it's deliberately deflected. And this is just showing what 11.2c says. When penalty applies, if the person who deliberately deflected or stopped the ball was a player or their caddy, that player gets the general penalty for a breach of Rule 11.2. Internal definition: deliberately deflected or stopped. For purposes of this rule, deliberately deflected or stopped means the same thing as in Rule 11.2a, and includes when the player's ball in motion hits a removed flag stick, an attended flag stick, the person who attended or removed the flag stick. A removed includes when the player's ball in motion hits a removed flag stick that was deliberately positioned or left in a particular place on the ground so that it might deflect or stop the ball, which is what this is showing, where he's laying the flag stick, it looks like, just behind the hole. An attended flag stick that the person deliberately failed to remove from the hole or to move out of the way of the ball when they deliberately failed to move out of the way of the ball. Exception: restrictions on deliberately moving flag stick to affect ball in motion, see 11.3, which says deliberately moving objects or altering conditions to affect the ball in motion. Exception: moving flag stick, ball at rest on the putting green, and other player equipment. A removed flag stick can be deliberately moved to keep ball from hitting it. So if the flag stick is in a position that might affect your ball, you can have that flag stick or equipment moved while the ball is in motion without penalty. And we get into removing the flag stick from the hole in Rule 22 and 23, which we'll get to. Ball resting against flag stick in the hole. If a player's ball comes to rest against the flag stick left in the hole, if any part of the ball is in the hole below the surface of the putting green, the ball is treated as holed even if the entire ball is not below the surface. So the key is the ball coming to rest against the flag stick. This is different than an embedded ball in the lip of the hole that's not touching the flag stick. That's a different situation in Rule 16. And so in that case, the ball isn't holed. In this case, the ball is treated as holed if part of the ball is below the surface and leaning against the flag stick. If no part of the ball is in the hole below the surface of the putting green, the ball is not holed and must be played as it lies. The flag stick is removed, and if the ball moves, whether it falls into the hole or moves away from the hole, that's if no part of the ball is in the hole below the surface of the putting green. There is no penalty, and the ball must be replaced on the lip of the hole. So you can see that this person, when he lifted the flag stick, the ball moved, and he needs to now replace it on the lip of the hole. See Rule 14.2. Penalty for playing ball from a wrong place in breach of 13.2C is the general penalty under 14.7A. In stroke play, the player is disqualified if they fail to hole out as required under Rule 3.3C. Any questions on Rule 13.2?
Nothing here, Mike.
Nothing? No questions? Okay.
Mike?
Yeah.
Yeah, this is John.
Yeah.
I wanted to circle back to that question that was asked earlier. It was something to the effect, why do you have to take relief in the area where the ball lies? Something like that?
Yes.
Okay. That's consistent with all areas of the course. Some examples. If your ball was over to the side of a bunker and you had they would put new sod on the bank next to the bunker, and you had GUR interference with your stance. Your stance is in the GUR in the grass and the ball's in the bunker. You would get free relief from the GUR, but you'd have to
Right.
take it in the bunker. If your ball was in a penalty area, right on the edge of the red line, you had a stance on a sprinkler head out in the rough outside the penalty area, you would get. See, no, in that case, you wouldn't get relief. You don't get relief from an abnormal course condition when your ball is. Let's put it the other way around. Your ball's in the general area and your stance is in the penalty area.
Okay.
Okay, now your ball lies in the general area, and you'll get relief, and you'll get it in the general area. You've got a ball on the putting green, and on the edge to the side of the putting green, close to the fringe, and there's a sprinkler head in the fringe, and it interferes with your stance for your putt. You get relief from the sprinkler head that's in the fringe, but you have to take relief on the putting green. You can't take relief. Well, let's see. I guess with a putting green, if the nearest point of complete relief is in the general area, you can go there. But you get my point. It's where the ball lies that determines where you're going to take relief, what area of the course.
Right. So that was a really good question.
Yep. And that wrong green business, that's so tricky. You may have played on a course that had a what do they call them? Sleepers, railroad ties, banks, that come right up to the edge of the green, and you're standing on the bulwark or whatnot when you're putting. That's very rare, but that would be a case where you could have a ball on those on that sleeper on that bulwark, and your stance could be on the putting green. And free relief would be in the penalty area.
Got it.
Okay, that's all I had.
Okay, well, good work. Okay, let's move on. Ball overhanging the hole. Waiting time to see if ball overhanging hole will fall into the hole. What to do if ball overhanging the hole is lifted or moved before the waiting time has ended. Any part of the player's ball overhangs the lip of the hole. The player is allowed a reasonable time to reach the hole. Internal definition is waiting time. And we've all seen, more times than we like to have seen, where a ball is hanging on the lip of the hole and the player is just standing there and waiting for it to go in without making any effort to approach the ball by the hole. So when we say a reasonable time to reach the hole, We mean reasonable, not just standing there and looking. And here you see that happening. Oh, he's reasonable time to approach it. He did it right. And if it doesn't go into the hole, then it's deemed to have come to rest. The player is allowed 10 more seconds once he reaches the ball to wait to see if the ball will fall into the hole. If the ball falls into the hole in this waiting time, the player is holed out with the previous stroke. There we go. If the ball does not fall into the hole in this waiting time, the ball is treated as being at rest. If the ball then falls into the hole before it is played, the player is holed out with the previous stroke, but gets one penalty stroke added to the score for the hole. So that's important that you get one penalty stroke and it's holed with your previous stroke. So that's something important. If the ball overhanging the hole is lifted or moved other than by natural forces before the waiting time and under Rule 13.3a has ended, the ball is treated as having come to rest. So if the player or someone else moves the ball, it is treated as coming to rest, whether it drops in the hole or not. The ball must be replaced on the lip of the hole, see Rule 14.2. The waiting time under Rule 13.3a no longer applies to the ball. See Rule 9.3 for what to do if the replaced ball then is moved by natural forces. What to do with ball overhanging the hole is lifted or moved before waiting time has ended if the opponent in match play deliberately lifts or moves the player's ball overhanging the hole before the waiting time has ended. In match play, the player is treated as holed out with the previous stroke. And there's no penalty to the opponent under Rule 11.2b for have moved the player's ball. Another player in stroke play deliberately lifts or moves the player's ball overhanging the hole before the waiting time has ended. In stroke play, the player who lifted or moved the ball gets the general penalty of 2 penalty strokes. So you can see this player is lifting, it must be stroke play, and would receive the general penalty. The ball must be replaced on the lip of the hole if that happens. Rule 14.2. Okay. Any questions on any of the topics in Rule 13?
John, what do you think about the situation where player A putts and the ball goes 3 feet, let's say, beyond the hole, doesn't mark? Player B then putts and the ball is overhanging the hole. 10 seconds elapse. Penalty applies even if that ball with natural forces falls into the hole. But then if the same natural forces have caused the putt that missed by 3 feet to come back and go in the hole, there is no penalty.
So a player putts, goes by the hole 3 feet, and it sits there. And it sits there. In the
Correct.
meantime, another player putts and their ball goes up to the edge of the hole.
It's overhanging.
Yeah, it's overhanging. It falls in within 10 seconds or
No,
not.
beyond, after 10 seconds.
Oh, after 10 seconds. And and then the original player,
The player, yeah,
Oh,
player
somehow-
A, yeah, somehow natural forces, that same gust of wind comes along and causes that 3-foot ball that's 3 feet away to roll back and go in the hole. No penalty on player A, but a 1-stroke penalty on player B, according to the rules.
well, the ball that was overhanging the hole gets a 1-stroke penalty. I'm going to have to think about whether or not there's a penalty involved for the other ball. Bumping, deflecting on the ball that's overhanging the hole after 10 seconds. I'm going to have to think about that one. I don't have a quick answer. I'm sorry.
Okay, no problem. Good job, Mike.
Oh, well, thank you. I hope everyone enjoyed it.
I got a couple comments for people about the test. Again, we're encouraging everyone to take the test. I talked to several people last year and a few people this year. They're new to the game. They're new to the rules. They're new to officiating, and they're apprehensive. And my recommendation is, so's everybody else that's ever learned the rules. When you start out, this is a foreign language, and there's lots of details. There's lots of minutia. There's so many things. You say, I don't know anything. I'm so nervous about taking anybody's test. Well, couple things. One, if you take a test, nobody's going to know the outcome except you, and Curt's proctoring the test. He'll know it. Okay. The other thing is, look at it as measuring yourself and go as far as you can. Go as far as you can this year. You'll go farther next year and the year after that. But taking an exam, USGA written exam, is part of the experience of learning the rules. So and also Kurt has a date in February that he's going to offer the test down at Baldwin, and not everybody will be able to take the test on that given day. Curt realizes that. And what he wants to do is those that can't take it on that day come to some sort of agreement on an alternative day, and he'll proctor the test again in his offices. So bottom line, give it a try. And furthermore, the 80-question test is more at, I would say, an intermediate level versus the 100-question test that you take at the in-person workshops.
Yeah, let me just comment on that too. I mean, the 20th is the optimal day because we've got the space. Right now I've got 11 people who have given me an indication that they're interested in taking the exam. But again, just as John said, I understand some people might not be able to, do it on the 20th. I'm not going to get Baldwin again, schedule another date. They give us these days. They don't charge us for us or anything like that. So we're grateful for them. So if there are a couple people, I've got some room here in the office. It's not quite as, because we're here, unless you wanted to do it on a Saturday morning or something where nobody was here, where you could spread out a little more. I could maybe handle a few more people. But during the week, I've got 2 other staff people that are going to be in the office. So that's, so anyway, we can talk through that. And if we can find another, morning, or again, like a Saturday morning or something, that is agreeable, that, if a handful of people want to take the exam, we can figure that out. Or if, if it's one or two while we're here, weekday morning, that's no problem. We've got a conference table where, we can get 2 or 3 people, 4 people around comfortably. So anyway, that's the circumstances. And unfortunately, I can't, I have to let the USGA know when I do these, and then they send me the material and all that. So if I've got multiple days, they got to send me multiple exams. So it's, there's, I can't just offer one-offs, here and there. So I just hope everybody understands that. So, anyway, that's that on the exam. Right now it's set for the 20th, and hopefully the majority of people can do it that morning. So, it's 4 hours. That's the time allotted. So I know it's a lot of time. So anyway, that's all I have. Mike, thank you.
Next
For-
week is an hour later, correct?
Correct. Yeah, we start at 2 o'clock next week, and it's just gonna be Ken with 2 rules, 9 and 11, and then maybe we might throw in some TIO slides to fill in a little time. So, because I think talking to John, I think Ken's got about an hour and 45 minutes, I think, of time maybe allotted to get through rules 9, 11. So we might throw in some temporary movable obstruction, some TIO stuff. John's working on putting some slides together, I believe. So, all right. If that's it, we'll end this one, and as soon as it downloads, we'll get it loaded up into the YouTube channel and for people to review. So, thank you all.
Thank you.
All right. Have a good evening.